Greetings everybody. Today we're going to be talking about Salamba Sirsasana, or supported headstand, which is also known as the king of poses because of its countless benefits. Because this is an intermediate to advanced pose, if you are starting out with headstand, I would suggest being in the presence of a qualified teacher just to make sure that you're moving into the pose safely. And there are a few instances where you shouldn't practice this pose, or at least practice extreme caution, and this is if you've had any spine, back or neck injuries, if you have high blood pressure or any heart condition, if you have glaucoma, and also if you are on your menstrual cycle, listen to your body. A lot of women opt out of headstand. Because this is a more advanced pose, there's a lot of groundwork that needs to go into it before you can be ready. So it's really important not to rush to get there. Doing your regular yoga practice is going to build the proper strength and support that you need to get into the pose. And if you do commit to a regular practice, you should be able to get into the pose without the support of a wall, which can often become something that we rely on too much. I'll guide you through the steps and some prep exercises that will hopefully allow you to move into the pose without the use of a wall. So what's really important is the stability of the shoulders and the role that they play in the pose. I'm going to show you what it should and shouldn't look like. So in order to build the strength, to have the integrity in the shoulders the whole time you're in the pose, there's a nice little sequence that I'll show you now, which you can work on, and if done regularly, it will definitely build the strength in the shoulders that you need. Starting in a dolphin position with your elbows shoulder width apart and your hands interlaced in front of you. You can either stay here and simply hold with that action of pressing the ground away with the forearms so that your shoulders are away from your ears. If you want to take it a little bit further, bring your nose above your thumb knuckles and hold yourself there, still pressing firmly away. And then press your chest back to your thigh. To go a little bit further, now your chin comes above your thumb knuckles and still pressing the ground away. And then we press back. Finally, we work into a deeper variation where our sternum is above the thumb knuckles and I'm still pressing the ground away, shoulders away from ears, and I press back. When we come into headstand, it's really important that there isn't a lot of weight on the head and that there's no pressure in the neck. And to make sure of this, it's quite important to have the head in the right place. So a good guide is to take the base of your palm to the bridge of your nose, and when you place your middle finger down on the top of your head, that is the spot that you want to bring to the ground. It does feel quite far back, but when you are in the pose, it'll make sure that you're not cranking in the back of the neck at all. Okay, so before we get into things, it's important to take off any rings you may have. And when you do interlace your fingers, you'll see that there's a pinky finger at the bottom. You want to tuck that guy in so that you have a flat surface when you come to ground. So when we move into the pose, we want to always make sure that our elbows are shoulder width apart. And to do this, we bring our arms down and take your hands to your elbows. Once your elbows are in place, don't move them. Interlace the hands in front, and like I said, you're going to tuck the baby finger underneath. I take the crown of my head to the ground. Right away, I press into the ground, almost as if lifting my head off the ground. I don't, but there's that action. Tucking toes, sending my hips up, and I can be here, getting used to this feeling of being inverted, being on my head. Each time you come out of your headstand or variation, important to take a child's pose to decompress or to remove any tension in the neck, and also to receive the fruits of the inversion. So once again, we measure interlace, tuck baby finger, and I place the crown of my head on the ground. I want to walk my feet as close to my face as possible, and in time, with practice, eventually there's nowhere to go but up. And then I can start to access the pose with straight legs. However, in the beginning that might not be possible, and so you can bend one knee and draw it up and into your chest and start to lift up onto the tippy toe of the other foot, and you might feel a sense of lift. And if you do have that, stay in a tucked position. Really find the integrity in the shoulders, press the ground away, and stay here getting used to that sensation of being upside down. Once you're comfortable being upside down, there's not a lot of weight on your head, you feel fully supported, then you can start to take the legs straight up, but making sure that you feel really balanced in your tucked position first. If you find you're in the tucked position and you can't get much lift off of this back foot, and you can't walk it in anymore, it's best to be here and just start playing with a little bit of a hop. But it's never a good idea to kick up, especially if you don't know how to fall safely out of the pose. Once you've been practicing headstand for a while, and you've also kept up with your regular practice, you might find you have a little bit more flexibility, in which case you can start to walk your feet in closer and closer until they naturally want to lift off the floor. And this means that you can start to access headstand with straight legs. So I walk myself in, and you'll see that my hips start to stack above my shoulders. Then slowly my toes start to lift off, and there's a lot of control. I'm pressing the ground away through my forearms. There's not a lot of weight on my head. And then when I'm up, I make sure that my feet are active, my thighs are spiraling inward, my belly is drawing back toward my spine. And there's a tucking, slight tucking of the tailbone so that I'm not banana backing. And I work toward taking my gaze toward the tip of my nose. But if that isn't quite doable, I might feel a little off balance, then just find a spot to keep your gaze at. And just as I came up nice and slow, I make my way down. In child's pose. So if you don't feel quite ready to move into the full posture and you're still working on the groundwork, then please visit our Facebook page, Mzansi School of Yogic Arts, where there is a picture tutorial on some poses that will prepare you to get into headstand. If you have any questions or comments, please post them. We'd love to hear from you.